What's up, everybody? This is Ballers and Briefs for the 21st of October. We are running this one on the fly. Phil is at a family engagement tonight. I happen to be at Disneyland in California, and Brad is chilling at the house. So we're going to cut this one short, make this one short and sweet. We're going to start off with Brad's 3-pack of the week. So take it away, bro, and then we'll just play it by that. And then if people are hopping in and they want questions answered, we can answer them for them. And lots of people that you need to worry about for the waiver wire this week and injuries. It doesn't seem like no Justin Fields. He's out. We got Kyron Williams put on the IR. Pay attention to CMC tomorrow.
So definitely work the waiver wire from the season long. Try to, again, as I've stated before to the listeners, try to get in that first chance at the defense of the best choice you can get. Look at your kickers, compare that versus, because usually there are some good, talented, or basically better, more favorable picks that will help you to be more, get you more points for your league fantasy games. And it's always about, sometimes, the difference between 3 or 4 points sometimes. And so it could be the difference between swapping out a kicker or adjusting, these stardom picks that we're going to go ahead and drop for you this week. The BKeele 3-pack. I got 3 good solid picks. Kind of dove into the barrel a little bit, but not really. Got definitely some names you heard of. The first pick I'm going with is Mike Evans at Atlanta. 10 plus targets in 3 different games. 3 different games with multiple plus double digit fantasy targets. Fantasy points. Also, I really like that matchup against Atlanta. I think both sides are going to have a good amount of possessions, and so that's going to definitely lend to more favorable opportunities to score touchdowns. I believe Evans is also usually has really good, solid games in the past against Atlanta. And so again, I feel overall with those different factors that's going to lead us to having a pretty good overall matchup. The next receiver I'm actually going with for my BKeele 3-pack is Jameson Williams versus Baltimore. So I know this is a little bit of a riskier pick, in the sense that he's only had 2 games since coming back from his suspension, but that wasn't that was a suspension related to gambling, and so sort of definitely not on the field activities. But he's coming back. In the 2 games that he's played so far, he has had at least 3 plus targets in each of those games. In the second game, he had definitely that farther target shot and was able to score on a long deep pass from Jared Goff. And I suspect, given the Baltimore matchup, which is the Detroit Lions going against, that he's going to be able to really have opportunities as Marlon Humphreys, most likely the number 1 cornerback, is probably going to be playing against Amon-Ra St. Brown. So again, leading to various more opportunities, definitely down the field for Jameson Williams. So again, I like Jameson Williams.
I like that Detroit Baltimore matchup a lot. With the fact of that we haven't seen the overall strength of the Baltimore secondary that we're used to over this season. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't seem like it's the same defense that we're accustomed to with like the over the years, right? I mean, even Humphreys himself.
It's definitely not your Ray Lewis.
Doesn't even. I mean, he doesn't even. Marlon doesn't even look the same himself. So I mean, you're asking one corner essentially to cover, I would say, someone that's a top 7 to 8 wide receiver, probably possibly top 5 in this case right now, in Amon-Ra, and then you're having you got. And Jared Goff likes to spread the ball, right? So, and then the Ben Johnson offense, he likes to just wing it, right? So he's winging it every time, and they're going to have to rely heavily, I think, maybe on the passing game more this week, for the simple fact of the matter, they're without Monty, and Gibbs is coming off of that injury.
Yep.
And so I like that Jameson Williams is especially I would say for tomorrow in DFS purposes, and then without Phil being here, but I'm reaching into the bottom of the bag here. Jameson Williams, I mean, did have a touchdown last week, right? Didn't he have a touchdown last week?
He did have a
He did.
touchdoon last week,
Yeah.
which allowed
Okay,
him to
so I
have
mean, I would
a solid
assume that
game.
he's probably at least locked into maybe that number three wide receiver there in Detroit.
Yep,
And we've seen Jared Goff feed the number 3 before in the past. You know, I mean, he
exactly.
loves Josh Reynolds and he loves Amon-Ra, but I could see Jameson Williams getting a touchdown tomorrow, especially in this week 7, which is heavy bye weeks for all of us in season long. I mean, it's a heavy bye week. It's super. I would say it's probably one of those vicious ones that takes out half your squad. In my case, it took out a third of it, right? So, I mean, any of the Texans players, Cincinnati, those teams like that are on the bye, and then you're looking towards Monday night for San Francisco players if you have them on your roster. So, I like the Jameson Williams pick. That's a pretty solid pick, especially if you're hurting for someone on the waiver wire, or if you've had someone that goes down injured, and you're looking for a streamer pick. You're looking for somebody that you can just plug and play. I like Jameson Williams a lot. And that Detroit game is, I think it's the over under on it's like 40 something, 43ish maybe, something like that. I think. According to the
Yes,
notes, and
yeah, I see
so
that one going back and forth. Definitely
it,
going back and forth. And
it's
so
a
that's
it's a
a
good one. I mean, and
favorable
kind of
matchup.
hop off of that, like with the Jahmyr Gibbs in DFS. I mean, he's only 6,300 tomorrow. The matchup's not super favorable for him, but Dan Campbell did say that he looks for Jahmyr Gibbs to need to carry the load tomorrow. So, I mean, there's no Monty. So, if he can replicate any of the success that Monty's had, he's not Monty, but he is a running back with experience like they've had at Alabama, and he's a essential kind of dual threat, that Alvin Kamara type running back that we are looking forward to in the league now. So, yeah, I could see that
Yes,
it being
definitely
a
agree
good
with
game.
that.
I mean,
Yeah,
on
I
the other
definitely
side of
agree
the
with the
ball,
Jahmyr
Baltimore
Gibbs
is,
play
yeah, I
from
mean,
a
I
daily
think,
fantasy perspective. I can
yeah,
I see 4 or 5 catches out of the backfield. Now where those go, you never know. But I just see that being this type of a game with that Baltimore style defense. Definitely some check downs, but then also some over the top deep bomb passes. But of course, you're going to expect to see Amon Ra, do Amon Ra and work that middle of the field. Really be a good sized target, heavy style receiver. But I expect potentially 5 to 7 targets towards Jamison Gibbs, which could again potentially lead to a pretty good fantasy game.
and then kind of
And
going
from
back here, I was
yep,
going to go back to your first pick with Mike Evans. I think that
yeah,
it's probably successful. It's probably a successful play tomorrow, especially for Mike Evans, because I mean, Mike Evans is Mike Evans, right? Mike Evans has those games that'll win you championships every week, every other week, and then he has those weeks that you're like, where the fuck did Mike? Where is he? Like, is he here? Is he actually going to play? I mean, I really feel like Mike Evans. It doesn't really matter who the quarterback is. We've seen it with Jameis Winston. We've seen it with Ryan
yes,
Fitzpatrick. We've seen it with Tom Brady. We've even seen it
it
now with
doesn't
Baker
matter.
Mayfield. So I really don't think. I think Mike's just Mike. Mike's going to have a good week. I think maybe with the simple fact of this matter, that I think Tampa wins this game. I think the defense takes over. I think that they take advantage of this. Even though Desmond Ritter was the Millie captain, I mean the Millie quarterback last week. I feel like that was just another kind of fluky thing. They ended up losing. So, I mean, it's just taking advantage of that Arthur Smith type offense and just trying to get the ball into the end zone. But with the fact of, I saw that Baker was kind of a streaming quarterback pick for this week. I did see that in some of the pros, like high-end ESPN fantasy pros kind of people are like, okay, if you're hurting for a quarterback, or if you had Anthony Richardson and he's gone for the year and you're just playing that streamer pick, Baker Mayfield could be one of those guys that just dinks and dumps his way down the field for around 17 or 18 points maybe. I mean, hell, that's what I've seen from
That's just
Trevor Lawrence, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's Trevor Lawrence numbers, and Trevor Lawrence was a top 5 quarterback taken in ADP rankings for drafts. So I think, I
yeah,
mean, if you're pairing tomorrow, I mean, I'm not super heavy, and I don't think Phil's going to be super heavy when he brings up his notes on the Facebook page for tomorrow. I don't feel like he's probably going to be heavy on either team, just because the game's not supposed to. It's not that the over under is not heavy and high on that one, But I think that Mike Evans, especially for season long, if you have him, you've got to start him. I don't think that you can fade him at all. Just for the simple fact of the matter, it's just I haven't seen Chris Godwin vulturing catches and touchdowns that we've seen him do it before from Mike Evans. It's been Mike Evans or bust kind of thing. Baker Mayfield.
Agreed.
So I like the Mike.
I really like the relationship. Seems like the chemistry with Mayfield and Evans, and just like you said, the red zone target is what really brings the value out for Mike Evans. Is his ability to get those little 1 yard touchdowns is clutch towards a good daily fantasy performance. And so again, I expect that out of him against Atlanta tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think Baker looks his way often. I think he does a lot.
Yes.
So.
And I also see, just like you were saying, the defense was going to take over, Cody. I see the same thing, which could set up the ball potentially on like the 25 type thing going in. And it's just, again, a quick 1-2 pass over to, Evans in the end zone. And so that, again, leads to the stardom pick for that one. And for my final one, I'm going to go to the Washington and the New York Giants matchup. I'm going to go running back this week and go with Brian Robertson Jr. He's actually quietly had 4+ games of double digit fantasy points. He's averaging at least 2 to 3 catches per game. So you're still getting that catch out of the backfield, which I really like to see with my running backs. Followed by he's averaging at least 15+ touches per game. And so that type of production typically leads to favorable fantasy performances. And when his matchup is against the Giants, where again I foresee sort of a turnover friendly offensive side on the Giants side, which will allow sort of really good chances for Brian Robinson to run in, 1 yard touchdown, 2 yard touchdown, things along those lines, which will pad into his fantasy numbers, as most of the times he gets the touches, but necessarily maybe not the full productive value that you want to see if he doesn't get the touchdown. And so, but again, given the Giants matchup, I see a touchdown in his chances a lot more favorable. Again, given the fact that I see that offense for the Giants being a little shaky, offering more possessions for the offensive side for the Commanders, and lending to a better performance.
I feel like that's probably that's a good thought, because thought about it. I mean, when the Giants beat the Bills the other night on this flukiest crap I've ever seen in my life, where the Giants offensive line decided to show up. I mean, essentially got that guy, Justin Pugh, that said he was straight off the couch, right? Like even in his introduction, I was straight off the couch. So I do see that they're supposed to be, the Giants are supposed to maybe get Danny Dimes back. No, it's not 100% sold yet. I mean, that's something that you guys need to check for Q tags tomorrow, see if they fall off. But I do see that B-Rob Jr. could have a good day, because it seemed like that was kind of how the Bills were trying to attack the Giants, because that Wink Martindale defense, is built on the blitz, right? So I mean, if they're blitzing and they're not covering their gaps in the run blitz, so if they're not pulling a run blitz, I think that's probably, if they're coming from the outside, rushing from the outside, it's got to be running the ball up the middle, right? I mean, especially in the red zone, where if Sam Howell and Scary Terry and Dotson and Logan Thomas and those guys can get them down there, it's going to be the B-Rob and maybe Tony G down there. But I think Robinson is probably set for a touchdown tomorrow. Somebody on the other side of the ball, I'm just gonna throw one of my. This is a streaming pick, waiver wire grab again in a week full of buys. Someone that slowly started taking up targets, and someone that we all wanted to see starting to pop off, is Wan'Dale Robinson. I feel like the Giants are trying to get him more involved. I mean, he's one of those utility type, gimmicky type wide receivers with a game that translates to the NFL, right? So He's projected around nine points or so tomorrow. I picked him up myself
I
in
think
one
he's
of our
still
leagues.
available in one of the other
Yeah,
in our
I think it's in
other
a 12-man is where I picked him up.
I think I saw him today at least. There may
I
be a
needed a
claim
wide
out, but
receiver, and so I
yeah,
grabbed him. And it's kind of like I was either had to pick him or Jahan Dotson, right? And Dotson, even though he's a technical number 2 on his team, he's not seeing the production
Samuel.
that we all thought he was. And Curtis Samuel has started to creep back into favor and become like, okay, I'm the pseudo number 2 here, and Dotson, you're this is your second year. You had that rookie year last year. Now you're in the sophomore slump, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
that this is
Agreed.
a Wanda Robinson. I think is somebody, and even when uh, Daniel Jones is in, I think that he looks for Robinson, and I think that they're trying to scheme Robinson open a lot. I mean, I know they picked up Jalen. I know they drafted Jalen Hyatt, and Hyatt just hasn't seemed to be. He's a bigger deep threat type guy, but Wanda Robinson is
Agreed.
that guy that it's a little bit smaller, but he works the middle of the field. He works the outside in the flats, and he's got a run after catch type game. So that's somebody that I thought of. I mean, I feel everyone says, "Oh, it's going to be we're going to go back to the Saquon type thing," but again, like something that's coming up, I keep seeing a lot of information on is trade rumors, and Saquon is one of those guys that even though he's on a 1-year deal, right? His 1 year, he took the deal instead of the franchise tag. I'm not sure that he's not trade bait. I literally am not 100% sure. I'm not sold on it. I know that Saquon says I don't want to be traded, but is that really him saying I really don't want to be traded, or is that him saying okay, someone come call for me, right? So I feel like the trade bait that's out there, even though it's going to be I just don't think that they're going to be able to run the ball as much as they are. And again, like on that other side of the ball with the Redskins or Commanders, excuse me, defense, Chase Young is looking at trade bait too. So I feel like these are going to be games, even though the over and unders in Vegas and feels like always into the over and under in Vegas numbers. I feel like right now it's showcase time, right? Like we're doing slow tanks or we're doing like we're putting guys on display. So like we want draft picks. I mean, I saw that article Bill Barnwell wrote was like 105 players that are worth a first round pick, and I'm like, there's 105 players in the league right now that are worth a first round pick. I mean,
I
really?
don't think
I don't
that
believe
I
it.
don't agree,
But I mean,
but you never
are we
know.
going to pull like what the NBA does and then just devalue the first round pick? Which, I mean, I don't know. We are at 32 picks in the first round. How many of them hit that percentage wise, right? And something that we need to do the research on. But I mean, in NBA, for instance, I don't believe out of 32 or 30 teams in the NBA that anywhere close to 1% or to have 50% of them hit in as a first rounder. I mean,
At
like I
all.
can't tell you if somebody's a
Yeah.
first rounder in the NBA that I know that has hit off the like just straight off the court, right? You know, like maybe a Luka Doncic or a Trey Young, right? So, but it's different in the NFL. So are there guys that are worth these first round picks that these teams want, or teams even though we drafted them in the first round, are they content with taking like a second or a third or a couple thirds or second this year, third next year, yada yada yada, have it, you know? So
Yeah.
I think that that this is going to be one of those games where it's a division rivalry, like we always say, kind of like the Atlanta and Tampa game. These are these are division rivalries. They're going to be either. I don't think they're going to be middle of the road. It's either going to be you're going to be bored out your mind because you're watching this and you're only a Tampa or Atlanta fan watching, or you're a Washington or a Giants fan watching these, or they're going to be like, okay, that's all that Red Zone wants to stay on tomorrow because it's a divisional rivalry and they're just lighting the scoreboard up. But I either one of those I don't think had a very high over under. Um, some other thoughts. I mean, I thought of was I mean I'm looking forward to the Chiefs and the Chargers tomorrow. I'm sure there's going to be I think that's the highest over under on the slate. It's like 47 or something like that. It's a division rivalry. We know both of those teams can put up points. Do we know that they're the same teams that we've seen in the past? I don't think so. I mean, we did see Austin Eckler come back for Los Angeles last week. He was nowhere near the Austin Eckler. I mean, I only think he had like 9.8 points or something like that. We did see Josh Palmer emerge as pretty much a go-to number 2 there in that Chargers offense. But I think that it's going to be Kansas City is looking to find out who they're going to be as their number 1 going forward. They did trade for, I mean, they did bring Mecole Hardman back into the building after the Jets leaving to go to New York, and then he comes back and he's back in good graces. So I don't know if that's instantly something that is relevant. I mean, is he fantasy relevant right now? I don't think so. But I do see fantasy relevance in guys like Rashee Rice. I have seen a lot of him moving around in season long for sure. I had someone text me the other day, said I had to make a sacrifice. I needed a running back, Roschon Johnson, and I picked up Roschon Johnson
I
and
saw
Robert
that.
Wright.
Yeah.
But then Roschon Johnson, I think, is not going to play tomorrow. So I was like, oh my God, you actually had to do that. So somebody, like I said, I said it a little bit earlier, Justin Fields is not going to play tomorrow. I got to trot Tyson Bagent out tomorrow. So we're going to see if the Raiders not having film on a guy that was a Division II quarterback is going to blow up in my face, or if it's going to just win me the week. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's the latter. He did have a rushing touchdown last week, but he also had a 2 turnover game at that point too. So, I mean, that could blow up. But like Brad was saying, it's waiver wires. It's waiver wire, waiver wire, waiver wire. Pay attention to that Dolphins. I think the Dolphins running back room against San Francisco for season-long purposes.
Yeah, going back to the Chargers matchup, I really do like that matchup as well. The Chargers and the Chiefs. I know that I believe we actually play each other this week
Yes, we
in the
do.
10-man league.
10.
And I have Pat Mahomes and also Pacheco, so I'm fairly invested from the 10-man league in that Kansas City and the Chargers game. I really do like Pat to be a little bit more the old Pat potentially tomorrow. Just that Chargers defense is prone to give up points a lot of times, even when it's versus divisional opponents. And so I really do again get to see that kind of going in the same way again. For Pat Mahomes, but also some catches out of the backfield in a fairly productive game out of Pacheco. But I kind of see this one a little bit more pass friendly. So just like you were saying with Rashee Rice, I kind of see him getting a little bit more involved. But I think that relationship with Kelsey is so 100% on point that even when the receiving core isn't necessarily all there, that's okay because of the fact of the relationship with Kelsey and Mahomes. So. And then from the other side, I think that it's going to take a little bit for Moore to kind of get Eckler into the sort of fantasy games that we've seen before, because technically in Kellen Moore offenses, it's not really running back kind of dump off out of the backfield scheme style, or a little bit more favorable towards that, or like screens, which is what Eckler is. That's his bread and butter, and what they've drawn up for him in the past. To get him out in space, and which has led to a lot more fantasy performances, higher fantasy performances in the past. I think you'll get to see a little bit more of that, but I just don't know how much you will as we move through the rest of the year. I'm really hoping to see Quentin Johnson come on here and kind of have that game I've been thinking he was going to have for some time, but I'm just not 100% sure if we're going to actually end up seeing it that way. I'm gonna still wait and see, but if you're kind of looking for that sort of pickup waiver wire, but stash MC, that's Quentin Johnson for me. Definitely in this matchup. Mecole Hardman on the other side.
To answer your question, 911, Phil is, I believe, at the alligator farm with a family. Like I said, at the top off. I'm here in California, Disneyland, so that's why we're kind of running this one on the fly, and I'm on my phone, so there may be some background noise. But yeah, so, but I was thinking, like, the LA in general, I mean, the Rams running back room has become one of those types of shows. Lots of people in that backfield right now without a Kyron Williams going into IR with at least 4 weeks on the IR. So you have the Zach Evans, the rookie. They have Royce Freeman. They just signed Darrell Henderson Jr. back, which we all know what he did in his time in LA. And then they have Myles Gaskin, I believe, maybe on the practice squad. I'm not really 100% sure. But I do like that Rams matchup tomorrow. So that could be, it's going to be, I believe, there. I did look on the DraftKings, and Cooper Kupp is that $9,500 highest cost player on DraftKings. He's got to get you that 40 plus. And I'm really not 100% sure that he's going to get you that 40 plus. So
I
he
think
will be.
a Puka comeback. I'm rooting for Puka. I think I really think he's an interesting story. Just in his backstory and sort of how he got to the league and managed to get the spot that he's in. I really think if they utilize him even more, that opens up better opportunities for Cooper Kupp a little bit further down the field as well. And so I actually was a little bit torn on adding in Puka Nacua for my stardom picks this week because I just feel that teams eventually, now that they see that Cooper Kupp is for real, are going to attempt to try to take him out of the equation. With the fact that you have Kyron Williams out, and it's a little bit unsure about what they're going to be able to get out of the rushing offense. Again, that led me to believe a little bit more Puka, a little bit more Tiger Higbee, and Tutu tomorrow. So, and definitely Tutu Atwell on sort of a big time play. But if you're looking for more heavy target share, sort of possession style, looking for an Anquan Bolden, I'm kind of going far a little bit back there if that reference catches. But if you're looking for that style receiver, that's more your Puka Nacua. So I'm really hoping for him to have a big game.
I did want to give your Jags credit. They did get the win over Phil's Saints. Phil's not here for me to talk shit
Duval till we die. Duval till we die.
About two AFC South teams whooping the shit out of his Saints in back-to-back weeks.
In like a week's time, less than a week's time. I know that's got to hurt a little
And
bit.
I know he's probably
and with
thinking
the
about it
fact
really
that
hard. I
he
know that
trashes Trevor
he went
Lawrence
ballistic.
all the time.
He went ballistic over that Foster Moreau drop.
That was bad though. Yeah, I would have been sick.
I mean, I was too. I actually didn't get to watch the whole game. I watched the last maybe like 3 possessions, starting when maybe it was 4 possessions when Mike Thomas scored that touchdown, and then I started watching from there pretty much because that's when my plane landed here. And so, like, I started watching it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this game's getting good again!" And
it got real good.
It got really good, and that last, I just the Saints couldn't execute in the red zone when they needed to. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if that's the offense, the Pete Carmichael offense. I keep hearing it from other Saints fans that I know that it's like Pete Carmichael's red zone offense is just garbage. But I did see that, like, I mean, Kamara was Kamara, right? Like, we thought that
he really was
going to be that guy, and then Phil was like, okay, I'm going to be under the field probably with Kamara. Well, he ended up being, I think, the Nuts captain.
best.
I think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Because I went with Michael Thomas as captain, thinking that his numbers were going to be, his numbers were there, but they weren't what they needed to be, right? And
not with other people playing Kamara.
ETN was a great play. I used him as an MVP in FanDuel, so it ended up paying off. But I just was sick. I mean, I literally didn't know. I kind of blended on Carr at first, and the more and more I kept going back in my head, I was like, okay, you did throw that a little high, but somebody did tell me that what are tight ends made for? To block and catch passes in the red zone. That's all their job is. So it's kind of like a kicker. You have like one, instead of them having one job, the tight ends have 2 jobs. It's just to block and catch a pass in the end zone. So, and he didn't do it. I said I wish it would have went to Taysom Hill at that point. but Carr did kind of lob that one a little high for my liking. And then the next play, when he went to Olave, I was like, he dirted the ball. And I was like, you just lobbed that one to Moreau kind of towards the back line. Why did you not just go to Olave like that towards the back pylon? And it was just like a shitty pass. I don't know. I
didn't actually like that. I'm not a huge proponent of fourth down, throw the fade route on fourth down. I believe you throw that on third down and give yourself a chance to work through the options on fourth down. Because sometimes on fourth down, that third receiver does come open. That may have not have been open the other two times if the defense a little bit tired.
Olave's not a jump ball receiver. I mean, I feel like he's a working man's receiver, right? Like he's going to work for the ball, and he's not a like throw it up and jump and go get it, right?
Yeah, and the interesting thing too, even with them being on the goal line, you still have the opportunity of some sort of a fake, with the running back, fake it to Kamara, then go to Foster Monroe out off the fake. We always say the fullback out, play action fullback. What is it, banana two-wheel route? Whatever Gruden used to call it, but just hit that fullback in the backfield, but it just out of the backfield, but it didn't happen. But thankful as a Jags fan. Thankful as a Jags fan. I know again Phil's definitely kind of a little salty about that. But even in that Rams Steelers matchup, I mean, this is a little get different, but the Steelers are probably gonna have to throw the ball a good deal just to stay in this game. If you're looking for a get different pick,
also.
Deontay Johnson comes back, so that should help. But if you want to get different, I'm thinking Pickens and maybe stack him with Pickett, Kenny Pickett tomorrow. That Rams defense has given up some yardage to quarterbacks in the past and given up touchdowns to even even kind of bottom tier style quarterbacks. And again, if you need to get put a little bit more money somewhere else, but then you still want a quarterback that might get you that 15 to 17 points, that's definitely an interesting pick. I just wanted to give the listeners something. Get different. Yeah, definitely a streaming quarterback. If you're in a real tough bye week and you need a quarterback, go ahead and throw him out there because I think there's 2 or 3 touchdowns out there for him. I know I got Pickens, I believe, with our matchup tomorrow. I'm really just leaning towards, with Deebo Samuel actually out, I'm just leaning towards a couple 3 to 5 catches, 50 yards, maybe in a touch. Be a beautiful game for me. And I'll be really happy with that performance out of George tomorrow. If it's something more, that's fantastic. But that's sort of the baseline that we need. But I guess that's kind of all we can kind of do for tonight a little bit for the listeners.
Yeah, and I know we still have someone hanging out with us. If you have a question or have questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. If not, we will make sure that I think Phil is for sure going to add his thoughts into the Facebook page, and I can also try to transcribe them over onto the comments if we can, for sure. But join the Facebook. The Facebook link is I can put it in the comments after the show, so that makes sure that everybody has it. Like I said, Brad and I have a matchup tomorrow, so we will come back with our with the decision on Wednesday and tells which one of us came
Funny
out
thing,
on top.
listeners, we've been going against each other for how long has this been? It's almost like an Ohio State, Michigan type thing at this point. Like this has gone on for years. Sometimes we play twice in a year. So it's just been really cool, like this matchup each year.
The funny thing is, what we get we're going into next week, so we get this matchup this week in week 7, and then it always seems to coincide with when one of our two teams playing one another, right? So it's usually the Texans or the Jags, or Florida and Georgia, and we get Florida Georgia next weekend. So
it does always line up like that. It does, but fate always seems to fall in. It's funny. I wish there was some way of kind of going back in the history books just to see like the matchup record, because they always to post a little matchup record, but seriously, to everyone listening, it's been going on 4 years.
Yeah,
Nice little friendly rivalry.
Probably
And
7 or so, maybe now.
yeah, at this point, again, instead of just multiple matchups, and but I don't think we've ever played each other in the playoffs, though, right?
No, it's
No,
always
we've
been
never
regular.
played like we always played different people in the playoff games. It was always just regular season games, but.
Yeah.
Again, this year's rivalry renewed, so that would be something fun we'll be able to tell the listeners about on our next one.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Again, you guys got questions, drop them in. When we'll get to the comments, I promise. Join the Facebook, like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends, and we will catch you guys on
Give us the
Wednesday.
love.
All right. Peace.
Peace.